What are your thoughts on bootlegs of Legos and Bionicle sets? I tend to err on the side of actually enjoying them. There are definitely some interesting brands out there, sets out there, colors out there in general, but where else can you get things like Black Metru, Matoran limbs, or, perhaps your favorite weapon in a recolor? Sure, you can paint them, you can 3D print them, you can cast them, but bootlegs are also a lovely place to get these. Now, some brands are quite fragile, have parts that aren't compatible, but today we're going to be focusing on a handful of really exciting sets. So I've been delving through the internet, I've been scouring, getting my little fingers down there, actually with a decent amount of help as well. And I've decided to compile a handful of images for you that we're going to take a look at today. So let's get right on into that. Without further ado, we're going to start off with one of the easy ones. This little guy right here. And I say easy in the sense that there aren't that many interesting things about here, but there is a little more that hides under the surface of sets like this. Zooming in, for one thing. Right off the bat, you'll notice that these are just copies of the 2003 Matoran builds. Definitely interesting builds at the very least, but there are some interesting pieces in here. For one thing, the hands on each of these sets are what look to be dark bluish gray, which is strange, especially given the fact that Kopiki, as I said over here, is using a different shade of gray. Why they wouldn't just cast both, I don't know, but I assume that they use that dark bluish gray elsewhere. The masks look a little, this Huna, the details on it feel rough. It feels round. It feels almost as if paint has been applied to it. Maybe these pieces are painted. I honestly don't know. They are not in my possession, but what I do find interesting is the head on each of these sets coming in the color of the body. Seeing this head in white, in medium blue, in tan, I think is honestly quite nice. Would have been nice to have seen these recolored more often. We only got them in 2 colors from LEGO, but they're, at the very least, probably one of the least exciting heads that LEGO had produced, but it still would have been nice to be able to flavor your Matoran in a different way using parts like this. But the hips are also, obviously, a different color as well, and it would be lovely to get these in medium blue and tan. LEGO still makes this piece, so it's not out of the question. Those colors both exist within LEGO as well, but it goes a long way at the very least to making your own characters later. Personally, I would have loved to have seen medium blue on the Takua set instead of just reusing Maku's colors except for the mask. Takua himself came with no new pieces. No exclusive pieces. Anyway, moving on to the next one, we have a weird one. So I apologize for the image quality here. Not all of these are good, but at the same time, it can be very hard to find these pictures. So this is definitely a weird one at the very least. And it looks like they even threw something in the background here. I'm not positive that that's the case, though. It looks like it has a Mantex armor on its torso, but also I see a Mantex armor on the body. So I don't know exactly what's going on here. It's just weird. It's weird. There's just nothing else I can say about that. Still, kind of interesting. I would hope that mask, head, whatever, glows in the dark. I doubt that it does. But hey, it's a huge Terrapan, I guess. Or I guess that's an A? I don't know. Anyway, definitely an interesting one. Moving on. Takes a minute for these to load, apparently. This one I have actually seen the sets for, and they're wacky. I may have pulled them up as well, but definitely some interesting pieces in here. The medium blue hips do exist from LEGO. In fact, this may even be a LEGO piece. I'm honestly not sure. I did not source these images, but you will see the shoulders here in medium blue, which we did not get, and the Roxy limbs here. Honestly, perhaps a little more notable. Black Metru head and transparent purple sockets. These look lovely. Now, I believe I am familiar with this brand, and from my experience, these sockets do tend to be fragile. I'm not positive this is the brand I'm thinking. I am assuming that this is Bella brand or Bella brand. I'm not positive the pronunciation. So it's possible that these are quite fragile, but I don't know. I don't have experience with them. These pictures were provided by Neveroff, which I will credit in the description here, so you can check them out on Reddit. They post a lot of bootlegs and things there, I believe, as well. And you can find them on Discord as well. These are ones that I actually showed in the last bootleg video that I did, but I didn't have them kind of all together. And so, yeah, it looks like there's obviously some changes here. There's a black Parako with a black Midak, black, whatever. But the spines, I think, are the thing to be focused on here, right? Because they're kind of mixed up, right? The black character is wearing the blue spine, the blue character is wearing the black spine, and that's kind of the same across the board. So white is switched with red, green is switched with brown, which is a very weird thing. It's kind of hard to do that And I imagine it's intentional. That dark gold looking torso there, of course, would be a new recolor. I can't tell if that body on the Hakan figure here is gray or gunmetal, but it doesn't look as metallic as some of the others. And I think most notably here, the claws. Zactan, interestingly, does not get three-toed claws, unlike all of the other sets here. But the Avox set gets them, and they are dual molded, or marbled. They're not painted, that's the point. We never got these in brown. We never got these in white. So those are brand new pieces right there. I don't know what shade of white that is used on the legs here, but I am crossing my fingers, that is standard Mata white. Granted, these are incredibly hard to get your hands on, so I can't know that for certain. Same with the Vok. I would hope that that's Metru brown, just because we don't have those pieces in those colors yet. But again, I can't say until I see or source these sets. If you know, if you have experience with these sets, feel free to leave something in the comments and check out the Discord. So this one here is a very popular bootleg brand. It's a very notorious one, I should say. Popular might not be the right word. They are a little bit difficult to find, but they're also notably fragile in, I mean, you can see it here. There's a crack in that socket, but also apparently pretty uncompatible with Lego. From what I've heard, the weapons at the very least work with Lego. Basically nothing else, as far as I'm aware. Now, again, I don't have experience with any of these, so I can't confirm that, but they do at the very least have some really interesting weapon redesigns. This very clearly is supposed to be a Staff of Light, and I admire that. I admire their attempt here. This brand, I think, interestingly, tried to do something unique with its first wave. Again, very clearly ripped off from Bionicle, of course, but every kind of subsequent wave, it felt like they realized, oh, this is extremely expensive to produce all these new parts, so we're just going to reuse them as many times as possible. And fair enough, but it doesn't always lend to good builds, let's just say. I think this is kind of one of those examples here. Moving on, we have Rudaka. A lot of people like this figure. I don't really care for Rudaka all that much in the storyline, to be honest. That's just me, though. Definitely some interesting things going on with the feet here. I don't know what these pieces are. And I have wanted that saw blade shield piece for a very long time. Never been able to source that one. I have seen some of these pieces pop up here and there, but yeah, just really, really interesting, fascinating pieces. Again, the picture quality is not the greatest here. I have an itch on the tip of my nose. It's very annoying. This one, though, this is actually one I would be very interested in because of that transparent, clear Borak windscreen. I don't know what color those Borak eyes are. Honestly, I don't think it's really possible to say because they've very clearly been edited here, but I am very familiar with Enlighten brand specifically, and in fact have a Borak cowl from them. And I know that they have a very good reputation for producing really high quality bootlegs from Lego. Again, in fact, the Metru Matoran limb, the weapon that I showed off the beginning of this video, the Metru Matoran armor that I have, etc. Plenty of pieces that I have in my collection, in my possession, are from this brand, and they're honestly incredible. They do have fragility issues with their sockets, in my opinion, not all sockets. But again, most of the sockets, if not all of them that I have seen, do exist in Lego colors already. So you're not getting anything unique out of them, so you're really not missing anything when they break. Just replace them with your own. But everything else is really good quality. This is an interesting one, and I should probably show you the other pictures of this mask first, of this character first. I've seen these before, but I've never seen this mask specifically used on these models, and so I find that fascinating. But as you can see here, although this is a fairly large zoom in of this picture, yeah, much smaller than it should be, very clearly. So cool, a little hard to use, as you can tell, but it does seem, at the very least, to fit around the same types of connections that your Generation 2 masks will. I don't know how compatible it is with all of those pieces, but at the very least, you know the inner dimensions are wider than a 2-length axle, for example. So, okay, cool. It's at least a usable piece. And chrome silver, that's always neat. These are ones I've also wanted to get my hands on for a while, though it's interesting because really the only recolors of these sets seem to be anything that's transparent, right? This transparent mask is obviously new. This transparent armor here is new. This transparent armor here is new. But all the solid color pieces seem to be pieces that Lego has made before, right? Outside of this sword being a solid silver and not dual molded or marbled, the scroll armor, for example, things like that, those are pieces that Lego has made. I can't tell you if the trans purple joints are ones that Lego's made. I can't tell you if these are green or actually it's hard to tell if that's trans green or trans yellow. But yeah, definitely interesting stuff at the very least. If they're trans yellow, then there's some really interesting pieces in here because I think that was an underutilized color from Lego. Moving on to Star Soldier, which I think is the cool brand. Okay, I was gonna say I've not had experience with these. I've seen these. I thought that they were really good looking sets. I don't think that they're so good in terms of their again the fragility of some of their pieces. It seems to always be pretty much across the board. Enlighten is by far my favorite brand that I have worked with when it comes to actually owning those bootlegs. I have not owned anything from Decool, but they have some really, really fascinating recolors, and it's mostly the marbled pieces. As you can see here, kind of a dirty pour in the marbling rather than having the colors more distinctly separated, which is interesting, right? Moving on, we have some Knights Kingdom sword pieces, which are always just fun, right? I would love to get my hands on green, specifically just because we don't have a lot of green weapons from Bionicle in general. We have a few, but no sword pieces specifically. I'm not like the biggest fan on all of the different molds from Knights Kingdoms for its weapons. I know that they rely on this kind of heavy border design here, which isn't always my favorite, but I do like them in terms of what they are, right? At the end of the day, they're not my favorite weapons, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that the green ones would be really cool. They're among the better weapons in my personal opinion. Also the light gray there. And this one, oh boy, I gotta source some of these. Trans pink staffs of light, which, I mean, they look like literally a perfect match from Lego's old trans fluorescent pink. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if they fluoresce, but it's incredible. I already want them, you know? So, oh goodness, it's so good. I thought that they were red because I'd seen them in a previous picture, but I didn't know, you know? It's hard to tell, honestly, with, lighting and things like that, of course. This one, a very good one as well. This Malum has some really fascinating pieces on it. I love the armor on these guys. I love the armor from Karapar set specifically. I don't know what it is about that armor, but there's just something about it that I really like that I haven't been able to really even fully capture. Like, I guess with the Barracuda build that I made for my Creeps from the Deep series, I use it there to really good effect in my opinion. But yeah, getting my hands on more of those pieces and more of those colors and the variants of them is one of my sort of, it's one of the things I want to do the most. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm going to take a look at this one again. You can see them compared directly next to some original Malum pieces here, like this claw. So you can see that it's a different shade of red. It is actually standard red and Keat orange. So it actually matches pieces like the flame sword from Bionicle from actually, I believe Exoforce may have introduced this, or it might have come out even before that. And this flame armor add-on from Hero Factory as well. To me, from these pictures, the Keat orange looks a little more pale, but it's hard for me to tell. I'm just going to take the word for it of the person who actually owns this and assume that they're correct. Then, moving on, because I didn't get to show it off in the last one, and hold on a second here. That Karapar has yellow armor. I think. I saw the pearl gold, and I've seen that armor in pearl gold, but this one looks yellow specifically. Oh, that's fascinating. Anyway, I didn't even notice it until just now, too, so... anyway, yeah, so the feet on this one are pearl silver as well, or maybe flat silver. It's honestly hard to say. Don't know that the limbs are a different color. It'd be really interesting if they were. I've heard that some pieces from this can match older dark gray from this brand, so it's possible, like the Vaki legs here, for example, might be old dark gray. Hard to say. But yeah, lovely. We'll see more of this one. And yeah. So this one here is the last picture I have to look at today, and just a handful of sets. And I'm not going to spoil that anymore, but definitely some really interesting stuff, guys. So as I've said, my thoughts on bootlegs when it comes to Lego is that they're always a hit or miss, for sure. I've seen some brands that can do some really admirable things. I've also seen brands that just clearly take Lego sets or even mocks from other people and try and pass them off as their own, which is not something I condone. At the same time, though, when I see brands, when I see these bootleg companies, whatever they are, whatever these entities are, offering something that is brand new that we've never seen before, whether it is their own molds or just taking pieces that Lego has made and recoloring them and giving them to you in a package that is their own, I like that. And that's what I want to see more of. So If you guys did enjoy this video, there's plenty more where this came from. I only picked a handful of photos for today's video because I want to make sure that we can stretch this stuff out so you guys can see plenty more, and I don't want to just burn you all out on it. There's so much neat content. I can't consume it all in one day. So with that being said, though, you guys can check out future videos like this one if I put out any more of these. And as always, check out my links for Discord, Instagram in the description below. You can also check out my Patreon there if you want to get some perks, who knows. And make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.